Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Beautiful day here in Maine. Damn near 60 degrees out. Couldn't believe it. We almost hit 60 degrees. Sunny, not a cloud. All that snow that we got in that blizzard yesterday, gone. Knew it would be. We only got like an inch and a half, maybe. They said 3 inches, but I don't think we got that. Probably in the higher elevations they did, but not here. But, you know, like I said, that snow was kind of wet, so it wouldn't have taken long for that to melt. And thus it did. So, yeah, we dodged that. So, but tomorrow it's supposed to be nice again, but it's going to drop down into like the 30s, so we're going to lose almost 20 degrees there in heat. So, but at least it'll be sunny, and that'll be nice for tomorrow. So, hope everybody's doing okay out there and getting equally nice weather for spring here. We certainly can use some outdoor activity. I don't think people around here are waiting very long to do stuff outside. They're just doing it, you know, because I think that, you know, this winter has been trying, and I think it's been trying because it's been compounded by current events, things going on politically and stuff like that, and people are just, you know, fed up. They need a break. They need something to decompress after, well, since the election, right? I mean, because it was November when we had the election, and it was winter was starting, and so I mean we had to go through all of that plus Trump and everything that's going on so far. We need a break. You know. So anyway, got a couple of videos to play for you today, and this first one comes from Brian Tyler Cohen, and he's covering the topic of Trump trying to get trans people out of the military, and basically they're not allowed in there. Okay, saying that he doesn't want to allow them in there. And apparently his lawyers brought the case to a judge. A judge got pissed because the judge was smarter than they thought. I mean, the judge knew what's really going on, and these lawyers were trying to misrepresent it. So that way they kind of sugarcoat it, so that way the judge would be more inclined to want to agree with them, but it didn't work. So let's go to the video here, and then we'll discuss that on the other side. So,
watching the legal breakdown, Glenn, I think it's fair to say that these federal judges are finally losing their patience with Trump. A federal judge just exploded at a Trump administration official in court. Can you explain what just happened?
Yeah, Brian, this one involves Donald Trump's, really horrific attempt to ban transgender people from serving in the military. They've been serving honorably since 2021. And the Trump administration, just kind of cruelly and arbitrarily wants to put a stop to them being able to serve our country in the military. And a federal court judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Anna Reyes, just exploded at Trump's dirty DOJ lawyers who are going in and arguing garbage, basically, to the court. And she exploded in two ways, or on two fronts, both on the form of this litigation and on the substance of the litigation. And what I want to do, we often don't like to, read extended segments of court rulings, but I want to read just a couple of sentences of what Judge Anna Reyes said to these DOJ lawyers, because it really drives home just how horrific and cruel and lawless the Trump administration is being. So District Judge Anna Reyes found that Trump's transgender ban from military service is soaked in animus, and it violates the Equal Protection Clause because it discriminates based on transgender status and sex. Quote, "It's the ban's language is unabashedly demeaning. Its policy stigmatizes transgender persons as inherently unfit, and its conclusions bear no relation to fact." But the judge didn't stop there. Quote, "Transgender persons have served openly since 2021, but defendants," meaning Trump and his DOJ and his Department of Defense, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, defendants have not analyzed the service of transgender service members. That is unfortunate. Plaintiffs, meaning the transgender military service members, plaintiffs' service records alone are Exhibit A for the proposition that transgender persons can have the warrior ethos, physical and mental health, selflessness, honor, integrity, and discipline to ensure military excellence. I mean, what she's doing there is on the substance of this litigation. We have transgender military service members who have been serving honorably, and they have excelled in their work as members of the military since 2021. And the Trump administration walks into court without any evidence to support their attempt to just completely ban all transgender folk from serving in the military. But there's a mountain of evidence undercutting this, ugly transgender ban that Trump is trying to implement. And that's why she exploded on the substance of this litigation, because these DOJ lawyers don't have a damn leg to stand on.
Glenn, I want to read you another quote from Judge Reyes, and I want your reaction to this. Quote, "I am not going to abide by government officials saying one thing to the public, saying what they really mean to the public, and coming in here to the court and telling me something different like I'm an idiot." Your reaction to that?
My reaction to that is those kind of observations by a judge and those kind of, let's call them shortcomings in litigation by DOJ lawyers is fatal. They can be fatal to litigation. And Brian, let me tell our viewers exactly what it was Judge Reyes was talking about there. Because Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, people say he's a DUI hire, he said that, quote, "Transgender troops are disqualified from service without an exemption." Period. Just a blanket statement. Transgender folk are disqualified. And yet, Brian, here is what these DOJ lawyers went in and argued to Judge Reyes. They said that, Judge, we're only looking to disqualify people with a medical condition called gender dysphoria, which is not what the proposed transgender ban says. And that is what prompted her to explode. You've got the Secretary of Defense saying one thing publicly, which obviously is the true goal of the Trump administration, discriminate against all transgender folk. And then you have these DOJ lawyers coming in and contradicting that, arguing something completely different, frankly, something that's not even supported by the language of the proposed ban. Do you think I'm an idiot? Well, guess what? I'm not an idiot. And I think we can see the trajectory that this litigation is on, Brian.
But Glenn, this has been a recurring theme where we've watched Donald Trump say one thing in public and say another thing in court. And really what matters at the end of the day is what's said in court. And so why doesn't this administration just have the freedom to lie in public if they're if what they're saying in court is really the only thing that should matter?
Well, because the plaintiffs in the case will introduce into evidence what the Trump administration officials are saying and doing publicly.
Yeah.
And that becomes evidence that undercuts what, this is not just judges reading newspaper articles or watching cable news and taking that as information and evidence in the case. It will be properly admitted. And the statements of people like the Secretary of Defense, Donald Trump, and other high government officials are absolutely fair evidentiary game in this kind of litigation.
And so what does it do to the credibility of the Trump administration when the judge really feels like they're being jerked around? Like what is this, historically, what has this kind of thing done?
What it does is once you lose your credibility as a lawyer, whether you are a DOJ prosecutor, whether you're a civil defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney, once you lose your credibility, once the judge can no longer count on your word as being truthful and accurate, which, by the way, we as what are called officers of the court, every attorney is considered an officer of the court and has an ethical obligation to be truthful, accurate, and candid with the court. Once you have proved to the judge's satisfaction that your word cannot be trusted, you're all but done. You will have very little chance of, one, rehabilitating your credibility before that judge, and two, winning the litigation that you're involved in. So, these DOJ attorneys who are debasing themselves, demeaning themselves, insulting our democracy and insulting the judges in the process, are doing themselves real harm. These are people who I predict will end up being referred to bar counsel, may be sanctioned, could be disbarred at the end of the day, as other Trump-aligned lawyers have been. And here's the good news. We're always looking for a point of light to give our viewers, right? I think the DOJ is going to run out of dirty lawyers who are willing to go in and debase themselves like this in service to dear leader. And what we're seeing, Brian, the people who are going into court, first of all, I can tell you they're not the best and the brightest at the Department of Justice, because the best and the brightest are honest, honorable, ethical attorneys and hardworking public servants who remain loyal to the Constitution. And you see these kind of high DOJ officials who are Trump flunkies going in and arguing cases where I can promise you, you never see, for example, the Deputy Attorney General, the number 2 at the Department of Justice, going into court and arguing anything. They're bureaucrats, right? Usually it's 3 or 4 levels below them in the org chart where you see lawyers go in and arguing cases in court. They're going to run out of unethical lawyers to do Donald Trump's dirty bidding in court. And that's why I keep saying, as bad as it looks, as bleak as it is right now, I don't think any of this is sustainable in the long run, and I think it will all end up imploding. Now, what form that implosion takes, how long before it happens, and how much damage can Donald Trump do to our democracy and the American people before it implodes, that's anybody's guess, unfortunately.
Well, I want to dig into the personal liability that some of these lawyers might shoulder by virtue of going into court and really jerking the judges around, or lying in court, or misrepresenting what the Trump administration's true position is. In terms of whether they're able to keep their law licenses, for example, do you think that the bar has taken an aggressive enough posture against folks in the recent past who have been part of, the stolen election saga that Trump raised in 2020, when it comes to really trying to preserve the integrity of this entire profession?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when we use a term like the bar, what people need to know, there are 50 bars. Yeah. Each state has its own bar, has its own bar council, and has its own mechanism, its own procedures for investigating allegedly unethical practices by the lawyers who hold, a law license from that state. Let me give you an example. When you are, for example, a federal prosecutor, you have to be a member of one state bar. I was a member of the State Bar of New Jersey, and then you can practice federally in federal court in all 50 states, in all 13 federal jurisdictions. So the people who are going in, and when a judge says something that calls into question the credibility and the candor and the truthfulness of an attorney, I can promise you the first thing that happens, Brian, is that attorney will be referred to their state bar counsel for a possible investigation. And people may not know this. Every single court opinion that is authored goes into a database, and state bar counsel have these programs, these computer programs that will review just as a matter of course, will review every court opinion to see if a judge criticized the ethics of an attorney who's a member of that state bar. So these things will inevitably be discovered, and hopefully the attorneys who are going in and arguing unethical positions or misrepresenting things to the court, ultimately they will be held to account, and their state bar will give them a look to see if they should be sanctioned.
And finally, Glenn, you had mentioned that you don't believe that there's going to be enough lawyers to sustain what the Trump administration is doing, enough prosecutors, enough folks in the legal profession to be able to sustain this corrupt behavior that's being presented by the Trump White House. When we see something like, you and I had spoken in our previous episode about Paul Weiss, this law firm that opted to bend the knee to the Trump administration, offer legal services that would be more palatable for conservatives. And when we're seeing things kind of go in the wrong direction, especially among folks who should know better, like the lawyers at Paul Weiss, just to name one firm, does that give you worry? Because on one hand, yes, it lends itself to reason that there should eventually come a point where we're going to run out of bargain basement lawyers who are willing to do the corrupt bidding of Donald Trump. But at the same time, we actually are seeing things move in the wrong direction as it relates to these lawyers who are increasingly willing to allow themselves to be cowed by Trump?
Yeah, it gives me grave concern when I see DOJ lawyers going in and, misleading the court, saying one thing when they know full well that the Secretary of Defense is saying and intending something very different when it comes to Trump's transgender ban for military service. It gives me grave concern when I see law firms, otherwise respectable law firms like Paul Weiss, go into the Oval Office and bend the knee because Donald Trump attempted to retaliate against them. And instead of standing up in court against that lawless retaliation, indeed, the New York Times reported that these executive orders that Donald Trump is signing, trying to punish and retaliate against law firms that displease him, are, quote, likely unlawful. And I have a feeling that's the way you'll see judges rule. So you have law firms like Perkins Coie that is going in and fighting this lawlessness of Donald Trump. And then law firms like Paul Weiss who are capitulating and saying, I'll tell you what, we'll give you $40 million in legal services if you'll just stop punishing us. What Paul Weiss did, Brian, makes all of our jobs fighting for the health and viability of American democracy significantly harder. But here's what I'm heartened by. I have been watching very closely all of the pushback from lawyers, from law firms in the wake of the reporting about how Paul Weiss bent the knee, that law firm bent the knee to Donald Trump. And I am seeing the legal community coalescing around the rule of law and the Constitution and the honor of our practice in federal courts and elsewhere. And I do think all of this will end up being a Trump miscalculation. I think the more people and entities and organizations Donald Trump alienates with his lawless executive orders, for example, the more that will help hasten his ultimate political demise, which I still think is coming. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but I do think it's coming. So I'm actually heartened by the response of the legal community overall to what we are seeing, from those select law firms that are bending the knee to Trump.
Well, look, all of this underscores the importance that the courts are having right now. They are really serving as the most effective bulwark against the worst excesses of this administration. We're seeing it by virtue of the fact that judges like the one that we spoke about in this very video, Judge Reyes, losing their patience with these folks at the Trump administration who are lying in the same way that Trump has been lying for so long. So we'll continue to stay on top of this. For those who are watching, if you want to support our work and stay on top of the news as it continues to break, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both.
Now, I know all of that sounds pretty nefarious, pretty low, underhanded and everything, and it's true, it is. Okay, but it's not the first time that we've had resistance being made against certain groups of people being in the military. First it was women, then it was gays, now it's trans people. Okay, here's my take on this, having been in the military. Even if they stop Trump from doing this, I know who's really behind Trump doing, kind of pushing this in, and it's the military itself. They're still trying to deal with the fact that they have gays in the service, Okay, and even though they don't really talk much about it, certainly, you know, introducing trans people, and even though they've been serving in there for the last 4 years, I guess, I have to say, the atmosphere in the military is always very slow to change, and I think that a lot of military people are kind of not stopping Trump from trying to stop this from going on, because I don't think they want the trans people in the service. They can't really stop them from coming in, but they're hoping that Trump can do that. And I'm worried about trans people who are already in the military. They might get harassed by those who don't want them in there, you know, as this fight goes on. I mean, there's a court battle, obviously, and then there's also the active duty battle of those who are still in the service, and those people are going to take the brunt of anything that gets done on the outside of it. You know what I'm saying? So let's just say Trump loses the fight. Okay, the military will just take it out on the trans people that are in there and try to force them out. You know, they certainly did that with a lot of women and a lot of gay people when they were first brought into the military and stuff, and they made life miserable for them, so they ended up leaving. So this is another instance where, you know, you got old stereotypes, or not stereotypes, but, you know, these old school thinkers in there who just don't want to see certain people in there. And like I said in my video yesterday about this, you know, when it comes down to serving in the military, I don't think anybody really gives a shit about the person that's doing some work, okay? If they're doing their job and they're doing it right and they're doing it exceptionally well, which apparently is the case that's being argued by those who are defending the trans people in the service, then why the fuck should you care if they're trans, gay, or a woman, okay? What we need are people in the military to do their job. They took an oath to do a job. We want them doing their job. I personally saw people in the service who, they look like they were, like if you were to walk into Walmart or something, okay? Or you know, you ever go drive by a construction site and you see workers out there loafing around and stuff? I seen people like that when I was in the military. You got your workers and you got your lazy asses, okay? They come in every job, okay? But I'll tell you this, I never saw a woman who was a lazy ass, but most of the women I saw in the military were always harassed in some way, okay? Maybe not out and out like physically, but, you know, them saying stuff to them or whatever, okay? But, you know, there was the occasion here and there where some physical harassment took place, and you know, but with the gay people that were coming in, because I was getting out of the service at the time that the issue of gay people in the military was becoming a bigger issue to talk about. I'm sure that a lot of that went on with them too, being picked on and stuff like that. Okay, and this is going to happen again for those people in the service who are trans and they're serving. You know, I feel like this is ridiculous. At a time of war, the guy beside you that's, you know, on your flank and he's you know, laying down cover fire for you, you know, or something, you know, so you can get closer to the enemy. You're not going to care who that guy is, if it's a woman or a trans or a gay or whoever, right? You're not going to care as long as they're covering your ass. You know, that's all you're going to care about. And I guarantee you, at the end of the day, you know, eventually you're just going to leave that person alone. If you had been picking on them, you're going to leave them alone because they saved your life. Okay? And I think that that's really the only thing that matters when it comes to work, being at work. No matter what, even if it's in, you know, just a grocery store or something like that, you want people that do their work. I mean, look, I go to restaurants, okay? And maybe you've experienced the same shit. I mean, you talk to the waitresses, I talk to the waitresses, you talk to the boss, I talk to the boss. I'm sure that you've eventually come across somebody that was working there, and you might have overheard one of the employees bitching about one of the other employees who doesn't seem to be pulling their weight, right? So this happens in all jobs. It ain't just the military, it's everywhere, okay? But in the military, it's worse because you're dealing with people that are living under a older cloud, if you will, of older traditions and stuff like that. Trying to think of where else you might see something like that. The police, sometimes the police can be like that. They get, somebody of color as a member of the squad or something, and there might be friction there, or something. Okay, but they usually nip it in the bud or something if they can. But the issue here is that as long as these people are there doing their job, there shouldn't be any need to be harassing. If you can't stand them, leave them alone. But let them do their job. Nobody is asking anybody to befriend somebody that you can't stand. But what we are asking is that if you're going to be working around people you can't stand, be professional and tolerate. Okay? Because what's more important than you getting along with everybody around you is that you do your fucking job and do it right. And these trans people, they're all alone in this thing. Some of them, they might be the only trans person in a squadron or a squad of people. Okay, and they got nobody to turn to. So think about that. And and I'm sure it's got to be stressful as old Mary hell. I mean, Christ, for them to have to do their job and deal with the people they work with, it's not fair. So that's kind of my concern with what's going on here. Is yes, we're seeing this drama play out in the civilian part of the world here with the judges and the lawyers and Trump and all them doing these things here to try to stop more trans people getting into service. But at the same time, what we're not seeing is what's happening to those who are in the service. How are they being treated now that this has become a public issue again? I'm kind of curious as to what's going on with that, and it'd be very unfortunate, to hear that, these people are being abused in some fashion or another. I wanted to add here, this is a different topic, but there's been some bullshit going around about AOC and Bernie Sanders about, these people are elites, they're millionaires and stuff, and they're out there pretending that they care about you, but they're part of the people they bitch about. Well, okay, it took me about 5 or 10 minutes, I think, to find the facts here about AOC and Bernie Sanders, okay? And I got this from a fact check, Reuters fact check, okay? And let me just read this here to those of you out there who believe that stuff. Ocasio-Cortez's most recent financial disclosure filed back in 2021 shows she had between $3,003 and $45,000 in assets, including her 401k pension plan, and owed at least $15,000 in student debts. Despite this, inaccurate posts circulating on social media and articles have claimed that Ocasio-Cortez has a net worth of $29 million. Most of these cite as their source an article on CAKnowledge.com, which is a website that previously made unsubstantiated claims debunked by Reuters about the income of Jen Psaki. The CA Knowledge article entitled, quote, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Net Worth 2022 Forbes AOC Asset Salary Cars House, unquote, does not state its source of information other than the reference to Forbes in the title. While Forbes regularly releases the estimated net worth of high-profile individuals, there is no online record of it doing so for Ocasio-Cortez. Quote, Forbes has not reported, nor can we confirm the net worth of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at this time, unquote, Jocelyn Swift, director of corporate communications at Forbes, told Reuters by email. And let me read this here about Bernie Sanders, this article from The Street, okay, written by Laura Rodini and Ann Schraders. Bernie Sanders' net worth, how the senator from Vermont made millions with an estimated net worth of $3 million. The outspoken Democratic socialist and political icon is actually a part of the 1%. Bernie Sanders has 6 more years in the U.S. Senate in front of him after winning re-election in November 2024. Sanders was asked by Politico if he would be retiring. He responded, "I'm 83 now, I'll be 89 when I get out of here. You can do the figuring. I don't know, but I would assume probably yes." Sanders is an American senator and activist who's never been shy about speaking up for the causes he believes in, such as labor rights, LGBTQ, equality, universal health care, free public education, environmental responsibility. Known as the leader of the progressive movement, Sanders has represented Vermont as a U.S. senator for more than 17 years and served as congressman for 16 years before that. Although his political affiliations is independent, Sanders ran for the U.S. president in 16 and 2020 primaries on the Democrat ticket, both times conceding the Democratic nomination to his respective opponents, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. A school teacher and later a carpenter by trade, Senator Sanders often speaks out against the economic divide between the wealthy and the working class. He has cautioned Americans against what he calls an emerging oligarchy. On his website, Sanders proposed an unconventional tax for the extremely wealthy, i.e. millionaires and billionaires, in order to fund the out-of-pocket medical expenses of every American. Sanders himself a millionaire. According to online sources, his 2025 net worth is estimated to be around $3 million. Forbes reported that according to his financial disclosures, Sanders made $2.5 million between 2011 and 23 from book advances and royalties alone. Sanders either wrote or republished 6 books over the period. One book is It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism. The other is Where We Go From Here, 2 Years in the Resistance. Another, Bernie Sanders' Guide to Political Revolution. The next, Our Revolution, A Future to Believe in. Another is The Speech, a historic filibuster on corporate greed. And another is Outsider in the White House. Annual royalties from Sanders' publications, as reported via financial disclosures, range from as much as $850,000 in 2017 to as little as $170,000 in 22. How much does he make as a politician? He earns $174,000 a year on the federal payroll as a U.S. senator. However, Sanders' political career hasn't always been so lucrative. As mayor of Burlington in the 1980s, he took home just $33,700 a year. In the 1990s, when Sanders was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, he received a sizable bump in pay to $96,000 a year. And in the U.S. Senate, his salary doubled to $165,000 a year. As his congressional service spanned through his decades-long career, you can see how his wealth grew. In addition to his yearly income, Sanders receives 2 pensions from the U.S. Senate and the city of Burlington, and owns 2 joint bank accounts with his second wife, Jane O'Mara, with reported balances of between $15,001 and $50,000, and $100,000 to $250,000. What properties does he own? As of 2024, Sanders and his wife own 2 properties in Vermont. 2,500 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath single-family home located in Burlington that Sanders purchased in 2009. It is currently valued by Zillow at around $699,000. In 2016, Sanders bought a 4-bedroom cabin on the shores of Lake Champlain for $575,000. Zillow estimates its price to have appreciated to $909,000 in 2023. In addition, Sanders previously owned a 700 square foot townhouse northeast Washington, D.C., although data from Zillow reports that the property was sold in 2021 for $422,000. Did Bernie release his tax returns? In April of 2019, Sanders released 10 years of tax returns confirming his status as a millionaire. Sanders attributed to the success of his book, telling the New York Times, quote, "I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too," unquote. Is he part of the 1%? The terms, the 99% and the 1%, refer to two different percentiles of wage earners in America, famously coined by the Occupy Wall Street movement in 2011. These catchphrases have come to symbolize enormous chasm between the country's elite and top earners, who control $38.7 trillion, or 26% of all the wealth in everyone else. To qualify as a quote-unquote 1%er, a person must earn at least $787,712 a year, and so, in years when his book sales are brisk, Sanders falls among the 1%. But the senator has bristled at such a comparison. In March 2023, during a Senate hearing on Starbucks' dismissal of pro-union employees, the subject turned to whether or not a wealthy and successful businessman like Starbucks' then interim CEO Howard Schultz, who has a net worth of $3.2 billion, could also be honest. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican from Oklahoma, directed a pointed question at Sanders, saying, quote, "If you can be a millionaire, why can't Mr. Schultz and other CEOs be millionaires and be honest too?" Mullins then recounted Sanders' own achievements and postulated that his wealth must be in the neighborhood of $8 million. Sanders grew angry at such a suggestion and vehemently denied the allegation. Quote, "You've made more misstatements in a shorter period of time than I have ever heard," unquote, Sanders told him. Quote, "You're probably looking at some phony right-wing internet stuff. It ain't true," unquote. Hailing from Brooklyn, New York, Sanders was born to two Polish immigrants in the 1940s. He identifies as Jewish. Sanders first hit the political scene as mayor of Burlington, Vermont in the early 80s, where he served from 81 to 89, a total of 4 terms. After his time in Burlington, Sanders set his heights a little higher and aimed for the House of Representatives, in which he was able to secure in 1991. Let's see, kind of scrolling down here. Okay, so yeah, $3 million, right? Okay, so that technically, yeah, that'll qualify him as a 1%er, right? But what are we really talking about here? When we talk about, you know, the super wealthy in this country, $3 million is something that they spend in an average weekend going somewhere playing golf or whatever. Okay, you know, $3 million. I mean, that's chump change for the kind of people we're talking about, who don't pay their taxes and don't do all these things. Bernie Sanders has paid his taxes. He earned that $3 million. He didn't steal it. Okay? He didn't steal that $3 million by not paying taxes. Okay? Or going out there getting lobbyists to do something, you know, to get the leadership to soften, you know, the road ahead of them so you could, you know, save more money on or tax breaks. Okay? No. He earned that money fair and square, and he didn't hide it. He's, like they said, 10 years worth of fucking tax information he handed over. Okay, he's not ashamed of it. Okay, so yeah, he might be part of the elite, but he's also the only one in the elite that I know of who's actually trying to help out the working class. So hey, if you want to just put a number value on people and just say that, oh, because of they're in this bracket, we can't trust them, you're fucking crazy. All right? Sanders spent the better part of his goddamn career fighting for the working class. Okay? How many fucking elitists do you know that have done the same? How many? Come on. So, like I said, AOC, Bernie Sanders, okay, and them trying to elevate them into, I'm sure AOC wishes she could be a, you know, a millionaire, but she's not. Yeah, she's getting more money than the average person out on the street, but that's only because of her job. Yeah, when you get a nice, you work hard to a nice job, yeah, you're going to get paid more. She's not out there, you know, doing road work or, you know, picking up trash. Jesus, you pay people what they're worth. A doctor is going to get paid more. So you're going to say, oh, the doctor's corrupt because he's getting more money. No, 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 no. That's not what we're talking about. This is not about, you know, attacking people that have $1 million or a little, or $2 or $3 million. Okay, this is about attacking people who are attacking us. Okay, people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Okay, people like that who are looking to suck out more money from us, so they can draw off their damn corporate welfare and get tax breaks and all kinds of goodies here, so that way they can make more money. So these people who are considered to be billionaires, they didn't earn that money. They stole it. They stole it for the most part. Bernie Sanders is what? In his 80s? $3 million. That's what he's got to show for it, okay? It's not something to be sad about, you know. He deserves it, as far as I'm concerned. But he didn't steal it. He earned it. He published 7 books, okay? Earn money from that, okay? I mean, like he says, you want to earn some money, write a goddamn book, you know? I don't know. It's crazy what the right wing will come up with to try and smear 2 people who are out there fighting the good fight, trying to educate people on what Trump is doing and what he's trying to do to us. And because Trump and his minions don't like it, they get Fox News and some other right-wing demagogues out there to fucking trash them. And that's what this is really about. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Now imagine having to take out student loans to send your kid to kindergarten.
I made that video 2 years ago. It was a 3-part series about how Ronald Reagan destroyed public universities. At that time, the state and federal governments would cover about 80% of the tuition. Students just had to cover 20%. And remember how everyone says we can point every problem we fucking have back to Reagan? This is yet another one. Because of course, in present day, it's the opposite. Hence the need for student loans. Now, at that time, Ronald Reagan was able to accomplish this because what did he use to get people riled up? He took the opportunity of college students protesting the Vietnam War to say that these universities are liberal indoctrination centers. Oh, how history always fucking repeats itself. Conservatives have been desperate to privatize public education K through 12 for decades. And now they're using the same old formula. Liberal indoctrination. There are so many reasons why the Trump administration wants to dismantle and destroy the Department of Education. Banks made a lot of money on the backs of students. And school choice? You know what school choice was used for back in the day? It was a way to get around the laws of segregation. It's for rich people to have their kids' tuition subsidized by the government. And all you poor and middle class Trump supporters, you think you're going to be able to afford, you think these vouchers are for you? No, your kids are going to be in the defunded public schools with the rest of the brokies. Yes! And because there's no longer DEI, that's been stripped from the government, guess what the demographics of these fancy private school choice schools are going to be? You want education to go back to the states? It's already like that. And look at the states that have the worst education systems. I'll give you a hint. It's the ones that prioritize Bibles in the fucking classroom. Granted, Donald Trump's executive order didn't do shit, except give him an opportunity to be sitting there scribbling his fucking name and have a little photo op. Congress still needs to come together to dismantle the Department of Education. But make no mistake, they are doing everything they can in their power to destroy the Department of Education for the reasons I just said. And you know what really sent me over the edge today? How many people Googled, what does the Department of Education do? Those searches skyrocketed yesterday. It's just a little too fucking late to study for the test.
Don't look up. Elon Musk's rockets keep blowing up. Pieces falling out of the sky. Airports across Florida shut down. Planes are crashing. Near misses. Dangerous. What are Donald Trump and Elon Musk doing? Slashing the Federal Aviation Administration, the one government agency that protects you in the sky. It's crazy. Elon Musk doesn't care. He doesn't fly like the rest of us. For him, it's private planes, private airports. But there's another reason Elon Musk wants to gut the FAA. It's the agency that regulates his rockets that keep blowing up. The FAA has fined Musk's rocket company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, by the way, you're paying for those exploding rockets. Musk gets billions from taxpayers. He wants to build spaceships to take billionaires to Mars. Yeah, nuts. Elon Musk is out of control.
Feeling my husband with 8 inches was like reliving our first time. Thanks to the salt trick, he makes me gush like a broken pipe. And just last month, I was ready to divorce my husband. But then he showed me his new 8-inch magic wand. Now, I can barely hold it in my hand. This salt trick is hands down the biggest advantage any man can have heading into 2025. I wasn't kidding when I said you should take it easy with this trick. It can turn a sad little twig into a raging anaconda. It's ridiculously simple. And it's heartbreaking to see so many men missing out on the chance to finally make their women happy. So far, this easy homemade trick has helped over 29,000 men naturally increase both size and thickness. This is the same secret top-paid adult film actors use to keep their bats way above average. It's also how they manage to handle 3, 4, or even 5 women in a row without losing their stamina. The best part? It works for men of all ages, takes just 30 seconds before bed, and can give you some incredible results in no time. If you want to skip the details and go straight to the video, just click the Watch Now button below to learn how to pull off this simple but powerful trick tonight. You should probably watch it alone, if you know what I mean. Don't waste any more time. Watch it before it gets taken down or you can't find this video anymore. Your wife or girlfriend will thank you for the rest of her life.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, So this next video I have is from iHip News, and the girls are going to be talking about people who are returning their Teslas in droves around the world, as it turns out. And Elon is like having a meltdown here about this, and so let's go to the video. We'll discuss that on the other side.
Aside from being a Nazi, Elon Musk is emotionally unstable and incredibly immature. I mean, the dumbest person that has ascended to such on paper success that I have ever seen, and the mistake that so many Americans make because we worship capitalism and wealth so much, is if somebody's wealthy, they must be a genius. And the more I see of Elon Musk, the dumber I think he is. Put up this tweet here. He is mad at Tim Walz. Tim Walz puts on Twitter, if you need a little boost during the day, check out Tesla stock. Friendly fire, friendly troll, politics is a blood sport. Don't get into it if you have super thin skin. So Elon Musk responds, sometimes when I need a little boost, I look at the J.D. Vance portrait in the White House and thank the Lord. And I just want to note, for the permanent record, J.D. Vance's portrait is the most yassified Photoshop thing I've ever seen in my life. He has, so much eyeliner. And you guys, I'm telling you, I think we're a news cycle or two away from the full-blown smoky eye. J.D. Vance is a complete Nazi. He went away to Peter Thiel's gay camp. And before he went, he was a never Trump guy, and he was a disheveled looking mess.
Pro-immigration.
Comes out of it the biggest sociopath man I've ever seen, wearing full eyeliner. And the eyeliner is so consistent. It's been rumored online, and sometimes people do this, that it's even tattooed on.
I wonder if his portrait says sponsored by Sephora. I mean, like, he is just a failed drag queen that is just waiting to pop.
Next up, we have Elon Musk again. He's always a cheater. He can't ever win anything on his own. He always has to game the system. In order to be a billionaire, he had to get government subsidies. He doesn't have an original idea. He is a con man to his core. And now his PAC is offering $100 to Wisconsin voters in the pitch against activist judges. Try to go win on your ideas. Right. Try to go win the good way. He can't do it. What did he do the minute Donald Trump won? Because they made a blood pact. I'm going to keep you out of prison. You keep me out of prison. The reason that the Doge crackheads went at such a rapid speed into the United States government was to stop the investigations into Elon Musk, because he was up to no good. He is a smoke and mirrors billionaire. Yes, he's a billionaire, but this man behind it is a sociopath, a Nazi, not that bright, and a total con man, and his products suck.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He's a lot less of a billionaire than he was when the Trump administration came in.
Yeah, but we need to work harder.
We can do better.
We can do better. We've got to do better. And speaking of that, put up this next slide. People are trading in their swastikars, and to quote Donald Trump, the likes of which the world has never seen. Tesla owners are trading in their EVs at record levels, Edmunds says. So this is kind of funny. Pumps and I pulled up to the studio yesterday, and next to our studio is a spa. And this gal pulls up, cute, like probably 30-ish, and she pulls up in a red Tesla. And she's like, oh my God, I've had it, ladies. Hi. And we were like, hi. And she was like, I bought this car before. I hate it. I'm going to get rid of it. Like, she totally had to cover for herself. Like, I had this EV way before this guy was a Nazi. I'm trying to get rid of it. And that's what all Americans are trying to do right now, unless they're sociopath dipshits as well. But basically, his brand is dead in Europe, because Europeans they have a visceral reaction to fascism. I mean, like, it really hits them when people are fascist. Americans, some of us do, that have studied history, that paid attention in, history class. Some of these MAGA supporters, I think, they want Donald Trump to be a dictator.
Yes, because in America, history is so cherry picked, and what they learn and the ability to just completely divest yourself of reality and facts like you can in the right wing media echo chamber, they don't realize what they're doing because they don't have any intellectual curiosity. Why was Hitler bad? I mean, you hear like Tucker Carlson being like, well, I don't know if Hitler, it's just like, shut up.
You know what they're doing is they're prepping the base. That's what's so scary about Tucker Carlson's propaganda, because he's starting to, something that was never argued, on the right or the left in America, was that Hitler was bad. That was universally accepted. And now they're starting to, get the soil ready for them. Is Europe better off? Would it have been better if Germany would have won? And they start sowing these seeds of doubt. And this is what fascists do. And this is Fox News has primed this country, primed them for this. And then again, when Fox News isn't enough of a hit, then they go to the harder drugs, which is like Tucker Carlson, who we all know is on Vladimir Putin's payroll, allegedly. Imagine how dangerous a statement that is. I mean, Hitler, it's genocide of over 6 million people. And universally, we all need to agree that that's bad. And they're trying to even whitewash that because they're so desperate for Donald Trump to be a dictator. And they're so desperate to be cruel to immigrants.
Well, and not to mention, we're both old enough to remember when Russia was the axis of evil, when a murderous dictator was unattractive and should be stayed off. And now we've got Trump sitting in his lap braiding his hair.
Yeah, you used to hear these national security Republicans go on and on about Putin, how dangerous he is. But Putin, we've talked about this a lot. He has played a long game, and we are at war right now with Russia, and it is psychological warfare. And in that war, you have Fox News, you have the right-wing manosphere, and you have Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin entered the United States through the NRA and religious groups. And his goal was to get Americans mad at each other. Well, what did Trump campaign on? The enemy from within. Right. Think about that. In a democracy, the enemy from within, which those of us that are big thinkers know the enemy from within is him. He's the fascist. He's the deep state. I have a friend who works at the Federal Marshal's Department, liberal guy. And during the campaign, he would talk to his other federal marshals and they'd be like, yeah, I'm just worried about the deep state. So I'm going to vote for Trump. And my friend would be like, dude, you are the deep state, right? You work for the government. You're in it. When they say that, they're talking about people like us. And it just flies right past them. The majority of the people that work for the American government are just normal people. And that's the job that they have. All right, moving along. We have, this is unbelievable. Musk set up to get access to top secret U.S. plan for potential war with China. Trump goes on Truth Lie, either last night or this morning, and says this is false, which tells me it's 100% true. That's whenever exactly he has to do that. And I remember hearing Steve Bannon in clips. I don't listen to his show. Nobody get psycho, but I do have to devour the news so we know what the hell we're talking about on this podcast. And I remember Steve Bannon talking about Elon Musk being compromised by China. And I don't know all the details of that, but I do think this is pretty interesting. Also, why is somebody who's not elected to anything, who everybody hates, like everybody universally hates Elon Musk, except for maybe like 20% of the bro manosphere podcasters. And how is he walking over to DOD, getting all this classified stuff? Oh, I forgot. Because in MAGA, you store your classified shit next to your gold toilet. Right. And it's just a free-for-all. This is just insanity.
It's insanity specifically because Elon Musk has financial interests in China. He's got a big network over there.
And it's his biggest competitor, right?
Right. And here's the deal, you guys. He is in bed with Putin. He said during the campaign, it came out, he talks to Putin.
Right.
So he is now Putin might as well be in a security briefing on a potential war with China, or Xi himself.
Well, and how about this? So I read that, and this makes sense to me, that they push these tariffs so that the oligarchs in America can have less competition. So the biggest competitor to like artificial intelligence, to Meta, to Tesla comes out of China. And so that kind of made sense to me. And then this whole narrative that we're going to do all these business dealings with Russia, which isn't, like a free market. Everybody hates Russia. Its brand is tanked. So it's just very obvious to me that you have the world's nefarious players, all of the axis of evil connecting together. And the United States used to stand for democracy. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but I could go to sleep at night and think, okay, we are working towards something. We elected Barack Obama. We legalized gay marriage. We're going to keep pounding, Congress to raise the minimum wage. Let's try to get health care for everybody. At least there was an open conversation about those things. But now I feel like that's all over with. During the campaign, a lot of you that have followed us for a long time know that a dear employee of ours named Javi was shot in October. A black kid worked for us 40 hours a week, was like a son to us. I mean, this kid had worked for me since he was 18 years old. He dies of gun violence. And in my mind, I thought, as you grieve and you're trying to reconcile this and you're trying to make sense of it, I thought, okay, Kamala is going to win. And then I'm going to go all chips in on, gun violence prevention. And this is going to be my life's work beyond doing this podcast. And when you have fascists that come into play, you can't fight for abortion rights anymore. You can't fight for trying to reduce gun violence. You can't fight for any of that anymore because we have to sit around and fight for freedom and democracy, which the rate that they have destroyed it, 60 days, and they're like thumbing their nose at federal judges trying to impeach them, and they're getting death threats from all of the rabid, deplorable MAGA base. It's overwhelming, Pumps.
It is overwhelming. And what is just unbelievable to me is these people that sit around and we love Jesus and da-da-da-da. They are the same people that are going on Instagram, keyboard courage, saying the meanest, ugliest things. I've got money. All of the ones that are threatening to kill people, these judges, probably the first ones at their church. I mean, it's so gross, the hypocrisy. And the Elon Musk thing, it's like if you can't see it, then something is wrong with you because it is obvious as the nose on my face. He is running Trump. He's in bed with Putin. Putin is now leading the United States by and large through Elon Musk.
One little thing, and we'll dive into this in another podcast, but you guys comment on this below. A friend of ours sent me a text and said, what if Trump is using Musk to go out and destroy all this stuff? And then he's going to fire him and say, Musk did all that, but I got rid of him. But it worked to Trump's advantage because then he's able to blame, like he does everything, blame it on somebody else. It's possible. I mean, I don't think so, but we'll talk about it in another podcast. We've run out of time. Please subscribe to our channel and we'll see you all later.
I have to say that, like Twitter, Elon bought Tesla. He didn't create that. Just as a reminder to people out there, yeah, he might own that company, but he didn't create it. He bought that. Okay? And like Twitter, he's ruining the company. So, in the way I see it is this guy, like Trump, isn't very good at business. And yet people are trying to say, oh, he's smart because he's so wealthy. Well, that doesn't really justify, that reasoning when it applies to Trump, because he's gone bankrupt 6 times in his career. All right? And he's about to bankrupt the country here. You still going to say he's a genius? That he's smart? That he, what I'm saying? Come on. people have made money in many ways in the world, okay? And we've had some mob bosses out there who have made money only because they were corrupted and skirted the law and did nefarious things to earn money. So you're still going to say that people like that are smart because, oh, they're, well, you know, think about what you're saying when you say shit like that, okay? There's been people who are very smart that started up companies, okay? I'm not going to say that there aren't smart people in the business world, okay? Some people had the advantage of having wealth before they started, so that way they could really start something and make it run right off the bat, sort of hit the ground running, because they already had the wealth to spend on it. But for some people, they started off middle class and they got an idea or they invented something, and all of a sudden now they're you know, they're millionaires and billionaires, whatever. Okay, well, like take for example Velcro, person that come up with Velcro. Can you imagine you know how wealthy they must have got? Okay, I'm just, you know, just saying, sometimes, yeah, intelligence can create wealth, but we look at these people like Trump and Musk, okay, people who don't seem to be very intelligent at all. They have wealth, okay, but how did they get that wealth? You know, like I was saying in the previous segment, for Trump, he stole it, and Musk, yeah, same thing. Government contracts, tax breaks, you know, whatever the hell else he does on the side, okay? You know, the thing is that, you know, he didn't get that fucking money handed to him by earning it. So, you know, the reason now that his company is failing is by him. What he done, okay, the fucking Hitler's Sieg Heils and all that shit that he did in front of the camera, in front of the world, okay, and you know, the poor design of the car itself. I mean, look, they recalled almost every fucking Tesla that they sold. Over 40,000 cars. That's a lot of goddamn cars that they have to recall for a bad design. You know, if it hadn't been for the Sieg Heils, you know, that recall alone would have hurt them financially. But because of his image that he's put out there, which is offensive to everybody now, and the fact that his fucking cars are crap, okay, it's not a wonder. It's just that his company should suffer. People should sell their stock or something. And you know, the funny thing is Elon is telling his employees to hold on to your stock. You know, hold on to it. But at the same time, his board members and the executives are out there selling their stock. But he's telling the employees to hang on to it. You know, who was that company there way back in the 90s, I think? Was it, what the fuck, I can't, oh, Jesus Christ. They did the same thing to their employees and didn't tell them that that their stock was dropping, and they all took what they had and ran. And I can't remember the name of that. Enron. Was it Enron? Yeah, it was Enron, I think. They did a fucking TV show about that. Okay? This is what Enron was doing. Okay? They were leading everybody, all the employees down the river, that everything was going to be fine. At the same time, their goddamn bosses were selling all their fucking shit. You know, it's like so now Elon is doing this now. That tells you Tesla's doomed. It's going to crash, okay? Because the execs are selling their fucking stock, but he's telling their employees to hold on to theirs. You know, it's like, you know, come on. You see what I mean about stealing? You see what I mean about stealing? This is not the way you earn wealth, okay? So like Bernie Sanders earned his wealth through working and doing all kinds of different things and, you know, whatever. But what Elon's doing here, this doesn't work. Okay? He's too young to be a goddamn billionaire. So how did he get all that money so fast? You figure it out. Okay? All kinds of favors, one hand washing the other. Okay? All kinds of crappy shit going on. When you got people like Trump who they didn't support or fight for Vietnam, or fight for the United States during Vietnam. When you got people like him that turned his back on his country, but is actually helping out Putin in Russia, we got a name for that here. We got a name for that here. These are the kind of people that, because they're wealthy and because all they do is shit on everybody and betray their country and betray, you know, everybody. Even Trump has betrayed his own family, for Christ's sake. Okay? I mean, what does that make you think when you think about people that are wealthy? Of course, we're all going to think they're scum. Okay? So why would anybody, even in the Republican side, want to defend a man like Donald Trump and Elon Musk? These are the folks who, before they got into the political limelight, are out there fucking you over and you didn't even know it. Okay? Think of the worst person that you hate, and then imagine that person now is running the country. This is what's happening here. Trump, everybody that knew Trump knew he was a piece of shit, okay? Everybody that did business with Trump knew he was untrustworthy. They knew that. They knew he's had a dark personal life, hanging around with some pretty nasty people. Okay? Can you imagine the shock and horror these people suffered when they heard him running and then becoming president the first time? You know, what do you think that does to people who knew him better than the rest of us? I mean, you guys, people in MAGA, those of you that are watching, and I know you watch, okay, you people that voted for him, you didn't know this guy. You didn't know him. And you wouldn't listen to anybody that did know him and did business with him and what they did. You wouldn't listen to that. Okay? If you went to go buy a car from somebody and another person told you don't buy from that guy because he will fuck you over, are you still going to go buy that car because you want it? You know? Are you going to try and get that same car from somebody else with someone that's got a better track record, okay? Who's more honest? That's what I don't get. When it comes to politics, people will run headlong into the worst fucking used car salesman out there. You know, I don't get that. I just don't get it. Why is it we're so cautious about buying a house, buying a car, getting health care plans and stuff like that? Okay, and I'm assuming that we are, or that we're cautious about that. But when it comes to politics, we grab the first fucking thing we see because they make us laugh or they entertain us in some fucking way. And we're not even watching what they're doing behind your back. You see, Trump got in through your radars, okay? You guys were you were Republicans. He was a Republican, and in your mind, it doesn't matter if Satan is running and he's a Republican, as long as you get that fucking win. That's all that mattered, because to you, owning the libs is more important than destroying the country. And so we're putting you to the test here now, okay? We're going to find out just how fucking loyal you're going to be to this man at the end of the year, no less, okay? How many of you people are going to sit and wait and wait and wait before you finally had enough? You guys thought you were pissed before last year, you know, with the things Kamala Harris was saying and the things Tim Walz was saying. You guys thought you were angry. That ain't nothing. You guys have got so much more to learn. You know, you really do. You're going to learn, because a lot of you people that voted the way you did, especially the young folk out there, you voted wrong and you thought you were doing right because Trump looked good, but you didn't live through that first term as being on your own. You were still living at home with your parents, so you were sheltered from the result of what Trump was doing. Unfortunately, that's the reason why you were easily swayed by Trump the second time. You know, it was fine when you were living under your parents' roof. You know, when the pandemic was going on and you know, Trump was doing all kinds of other things and stuff, and it wasn't affecting you. I mean, the pandemic was, but the other things he was doing wasn't affecting you personally. Okay. So you were sheltered from that. So you couldn't, you know, you didn't make the connection that Trump and all the shit that went on, you know, that was connected somehow, that, you know, but it was. You see, you guys didn't sit down and talk to anybody and ask him, you know, what the hell was wrong with Trump. So you went ahead and listened to the propaganda and the spin and Fox News and everybody that was out there trying to get you to vote for him, and you fell for it. Okay, because you're young, I guess I could give you some credence here a little bit, you know, or give us some allowance that, you know, because it was your first time voting. Okay, you don't know, you don't have the experience to guide, you know, how you vote like people my age and older do. Okay, now I'm not saying people my age or older are all enlightened and smart. Some of them do the worst things, but I'm just saying that with politics, you have to stay with it to gain experience about the people that you read about, see on TV and the news and stuff like that, so you can understand them. Okay, as a kid, hell, even I didn't really watch the fucking news when I was 15, 16 years old. Okay, I wasn't really paying much attention to politics. I was too busy watching cartoons and building models and stuff like that. Okay, I was enjoying my youth. Okay, but once you get out of that shell and you strike out on your own, you gotta be aware of what your surroundings. You gotta understand what the hell's going on in the world before you make choices that could change or destroy your life. You know, and that's, you know, like I said, I can sympathize there, but the ones that I can't sympathize with, okay, or care about are the 8 million people who did not vote in the election at all. Okay, and I'm talking about the 8 million Democrats who voted for Biden but didn't come out and vote, period. Okay, so I'm talking to you 8 million Democrats out there. You knew better. You fucking knew better. But you're one of those single issue voters, which I cannot stand. I can't stand a person who only votes for one fucking issue. Jesus. You know, if Adolf Hitler said, I'll give people free education or something like that, and that was your pet peeve or whatever the hell you don't want to call it, was that, okay, let's vote for Hitler. Okay, you know what I'm saying? You got to be smarter than that. You got to think broad. When it comes to the president, you can't focus on one issue. You might be able to get away with that with a mayor or perhaps a governor, but never the president. The president has to encompass a plethora of issues. Okay, and what you do is you take all the pros and all the cons and you weigh them. Okay, you sit down and you make a list, all the things that person said they're going to do, all the things they didn't say they're going to do. Okay, and then you put it out there and you think, okay, who gives me more of what I want? Okay, because understand that no matter which one you pick, you're not going to get everything. Okay, so you want to find the person that's going to give you, more of what you want. Okay, that's the way you have to decide. But you see, now that Trump's president, he's giving you a lot of things you didn't want. Okay, okay, he's giving you a lot of things you didn't want, but yet you swore up and down this was the guy for you. Okay, and part of the reason that, like I said, is that you didn't learn from him the last time, and I'm not going to excuse youth for you guys on this, because if you were smart enough to vote for Biden the last time, and then you knew what Trump was, and you knew that no matter what, he cannot win. He should not be president. I don't care if it was the Jolly Green Giant who was running on the Democrat ticket. You would have voted for that man, not Trump. Okay, I don't care if it was the LaChoy Dragon running on the Democrat ticket. You vote for the dragon, not Trump. Okay, it was a must. I mean, going back to the car analogy, you people out there that are smart about cars, you know what cars to avoid, don't you? Right? But because you like maybe the brand name of the car, like Ford or Dodge or Chevrolet or something like that, would you stick with that brand no matter what and buy the worst vehicle that they have because you want to be loyal to that brand? Or are you going to buy, a vehicle that has a better track record, okay, to spare you the headache? Okay, instead, you guys, I don't know. You guys are not very smart when it comes to politics. You're smart about other things, but when it comes to politics, people treat it like a sport. Okay, you know, you show up at rallies with your funny hats and your shirts and your banners and all this crap. I mean, it looks like we're at a sporting event, at a football game, because you see the same thing at a football game when they show the crowd. They're all dressed up like they're at a goddamn DNC convention, or you see the same shit. So that's why I say we draw on that as like a sport. And that's, I think in a large way, that's kind of the reason why we don't take it serious, is because for us, it's, for people that are, into these, what do you call it, parties, Republicans and Democrats, we treat it like the home team or something, and we support it. And when you win, yeah, it feels good to win, because everybody participated in the election, or at least you hope everybody did. But you get a win, and that makes you feel good. But how do you feel now that you guys won? And I'm talking to MAGA here. Now that you guys won and you got Trump, I'm seeing a lot of people out there who voted for him that ain't happy right now, and some of them are on pins and needles, wondering what's going to happen to their farms, to their spouse who got deported when they came back from a honeymoon. Okay? Like I said, things in government don't operate like a scalpel. It's a sledgehammer. They make a law or a rule about something, it affects everybody in the entire political spectrum. It doesn't just target the people you want it to target, it targets everybody. I remember, a teacher in high school would stress that a lot, about people when they write bills and things like that. They try to tailor it so it only affects a limited, group, okay? They try to, but it's hard to do it that way. And so oftentimes when it's passed, there's fallout from it, because it affects people who really shouldn't have been affected by it, and it creates problems. And then we got to go back to the table and sit down and iron a change in it or something like that. And we keep doing this all the time, because you can't legislate, with a scalpel by just picking, this person is for. It doesn't work that way. You can't. There's no bill, no law that's ever been made that actually just targets certain people. Okay? So you can't do that. So this is a really troubling thing about what Trump is doing, is that because he operates through executive orders, okay, and executive orders can say anything, basically. He's not being specific about anything in these executive orders, okay, because if it was true, then some of you people in MAGA wouldn't have been affected, right? So his executive orders are just blanket shots in the dark, essentially, and it's affecting all kinds of people that no one even thought would be affected by it, because they thought, no, it's only supposed to go after the illegals or the criminals. But no, we're rounding up all kinds of other people who are not illegals or are not criminals, and being deported to a concentration camp in El Salvador, probably never to be seen again. You're ruining people's lives, and they did nothing wrong. That's not fair, and that's really why executive orders should only be used sparingly, and not like a fucking list of things that we have to do, okay? You know what I'm saying? We can't just, treat the presidency like a king. And that's what he's doing through executive orders. He's probably going to go down in history as the president who issued the most executive orders in American history. Okay, I really think that's what is going to happen. Okay, because when you circumvent Congress and the Senate and stuff, these people are there to spot something that's not going to work right. and they'll stop it. They'll debate it, and they'll try to stop it or pass it or whatever. Okay, executive orders, they go around that, and I think, you know, that's not right because of the fact that it takes away the whole democratic process of how we govern our lives. You can't let a president just throw out one fucking executive order after another. Presidents have been challenged in the past on executive orders, okay? And I can't name one off the top of my head, but I do know that in the past, whenever a president ever issued one, it became a topic of debate, okay, whether or not it was lawful or whether or not it was justified. But right now, Trump is spitting these things out one after another, and you don't hear a whole lot about these orders as they come out. Okay, yeah, you're hearing complaints that he's doing this, he's doing that, but where's the legal experts out there? Where's the challenges to the executive orders and stuff? You know, we don't hear too much about that, you know, and people need to know, or at least be reminded of what an executive order is and what it's not supposed to be used as. Okay, so anyway, that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Keep your ears open for health issues. Subscribe, comment, and share, and treat each other kindly out there. You know, stay connected to your community, okay, because in dark times we rely on each other in order to get through difficult moments and things, and it helps when you know you got some kind of a safety net out there. So I would recommend people do that. So take care, everybody. We'll talk later. Thank you.